and it's just a senseless situation, and it's got to stop. So whatever I can do to stop it, and we are having discussions, yes.
Ongoing, already scheduled and ongoing?
Already talking, yes.
So you've already spoken to Vladimir Putin?
I don't want to say that, but we are having very serious discussions about.
Is there a reason you don't want to?
Well, I just don't want to say that.
Okay.
We're having very serious discussions about that war, trying to get it ended.
With Russia?
With Russia, yeah.
At the Department of Justice and the FBI, there are a number of high-level people who are being asked to resign or are being told they are going to be fired. Did you specifically request any actions at the Bureau or DOJ with respect to those employees?
No, but we have some very bad people over there. It was weaponized at a level that nobody's ever seen before. They came after a lot of people, like me, but they came after a lot of people. No, I wasn't involved in it. I'll have to see what is exactly going on after this is finished. But if they fired some people over there, that's a good thing, because they were very bad. They were very corrupt people, very corrupt, and they hurt our country very badly with the weaponization. They used the Justice Department to go after their political opponent, which in itself is illegal. And obviously it didn't work.
Are you going to impose tariff on the European Union?
What does that mean?
Are you going to impose tariff too on the European Union, like you are going to do for Mexico and Canada?
Well, you're asking me a question, because I'm sure you didn't hear. Am I going to impose tariffs on the European Union? Do you want the truthful answer, or should I give you a political answer? Absolutely. Absolutely. The European Union has treated us so terribly.
You promised Americans to try to reduce costs, and so many of the products that would be tariffed when they come into the country, the outgoing country is not paying the tariff. The buyers in the United States pay that, and then that's passed on to consumers in most instances.
Sometimes.
How would you expect to have prices come down if you have such a broad plan for tariffs? And what do you say to the voters who want to see you reduce everyday costs?
Well, let me just tell you that I got elected for a lot of reasons. Number one was the border. Number two was inflation, because I had almost no inflation. And yet I charged hundreds of billions of dollars of tariffs to countries. And think of it, I had almost no inflation, and I took in $600 billion of money from other countries. And tariffs don't cause inflation, they cause success. They cause big success. So we're going to have great success. There could be some temporary short-term disruption, and people will understand that. I had that when I negotiated some of the good deals for the farmers. And unfortunately, those deals have been led astray by Biden and his people because they didn't enforce the deals. We have a deal with China, which is phenomenal for the farmers, but there was nobody to enforce it in the Biden administration. They let them get away with murder. So that's another thing we're going to be bringing.
Do you accept the principle of costs being passed
committed to
on?
buying $50 billion worth of farm product, and they did it when I was president. And as soon as I left, they stopped doing it because there was nobody in Biden to enforce it. But the tariffs are going to make us very rich and very strong, and we're going to treat other countries very fairly. But if you think about it, other countries charge us tariffs. We don't charge them tariffs, and it's about time that that changes.
Sir, are you concerned about the market reaction around tariffs?
No, no. Tariffs, the word tariff is a very misunderstood word. You've heard me say, I say it kiddingly, but it's one of the most beautiful words in the dictionary. Really is. And we've been taken advantage of because others have charged us VATs. As an example, the European Union charges us 20% plus a VAT tax, called a VAT tax, very similar. And it costs us an absolute fortune. We are treated so badly. They don't take our cars. They don't take our farm products, essentially. They don't take almost anything. And we have a tremendous deficit with the European Union. So we'll be doing something very substantial with the European Union. We're going to bring the level up to where it should be. And if you think of the European Union, then you go to NATO, it's largely the same group of countries. Until I came along, I mean, we were paying almost 100% of NATO only to get bad trade deals. And now it's been evened out, but very unfair having to do, it was evened out pretty good. Actually, I did a good job. They paid $440 billion if you look at the Secretary General's report, and he was here recently and he said that. He said one of the most amazing things I've ever seen is what President Trump was able to do with these countries of Europe, of which he was in charge of them, but he couldn't get them to pay. I went over, I said, you got to pay, and if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you. It's very simple. But very unfair is with Ukraine, because we're in for $300 billion plus, and they're in probably for $100 billion. There's a $200 billion difference, and they need it more than we do. You know, we have an ocean in between. They don't. And so they're going to have to step it up a little bit.
With efforts to reduce the federal workforce, whether it's offering what we've called the buyout package or other efforts, do you have any concerns that there will be employees broadly across the federal government who might take that up? And they're a part of the many different ways that agencies protect the public, from food inspections to water safety to
I know,
the air
but
traffic
everybody's
controllers.
replaceable, and we'll get very good people to replace them if it turns out to be more than we thought. It could be a lot, it could be a little, we don't know, but we'd love to have them leave. We're trying to remember this. We want them to go into the private sector. It's our dream to have everybody almost working in the private sector, not in the public sector. We have many people, very few people came to work. They were, you know, it started more or less with COVID, but actually even before COVID. But it started with the COVID. They didn't come back. And then Biden let them get away with murder. And they, you know, we had federal workforce, like 4% coming into the office. And that just doesn't work. You know, people can say it does, but it doesn't work. You have to be unified in a group in the office. It's just, it was crazy. You don't know what they're doing. And then at some point we may ask them to certify that they didn't have two jobs, meaning were they really getting a check from us, the government, and then were they also working a second job and a third job, and, you know, on government time. And many of them will say that they did, you know, which is not legal, but it's a problem. It's a problem. No, we want to get that out. We want to clean it out. You know, people have been trying to reduce federal government now for 40 years, 45 years, and they haven't been able to do it. And this is a way of doing it, I think, very nicely. It's sort of a buyout, too. I think we're treating people very good, but people don't come to the office. They won't have a job starting on that very special date, so we'll see how that works out. I mean, nobody knows how that's going to turn out. Everybody might show up to the office, and maybe a large number won't show up. But if they don't show up, we've accomplished a very serious goal. We're trying to reduce government.
Does Mr. Musk or any of those associated with your DOGE effort, do they have any direct access through the government systems to how money is dispersed?
No, nothing. No, this has nothing to do also with the federal cutting, you know, with this federal cutting. This is very separate. This is if you don't show up, you don't get paid. But DOGE, I think great progress has been made. We're talking about cutting over $1 trillion of waste. We're talking about waste. We're not talking about we're going to love and cherish Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. We're not going to do anything with that other than if we can find some abuse or waste, we'll do something, but the people won't be affected. It'll only be more effective and better. And our country, as our country gets richer, the people on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, those people are going to be more secure. If Biden had gotten elected, Social Security was going to fail because the country was failing. It was going to fail. The country was going to fail. And therefore, the Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and all of the other things that you may get would not be able to be paid. Our country is getting very strong, and you see it. I think more progress has been made in the last 2 or 3 weeks than has been made in the last 4 years. I think not only has more progress been made in the last 4 years, it's, I'll call it deep progress. We went way backward as a country in so many different ways, from woke to all of the other things that took place that were so bad. You look at Afghanistan, how embarrassing that was. I think Afghanistan really started the problem with Russia and Ukraine. When Putin looked over and he saw how incompetently that was handled, I was getting out, but I was going to keep Bagram. Right now, China has Bagram. I was going to keep one of the biggest air bases in the world. They left it. But I was, other than Bagram, I was going to get out. And I wasn't keeping Bagram for Afghanistan. I was keeping it for China because it's 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. And we were keeping it. So we have a lot of great things happening in our country, and we appreciate that you're here. And I'm really thrilled about Doug, and I'm really thrilled about his friend, Chris Wright, who's a legend in the oil business, right? They keep telling me, Catherine, he's like a legend, and he's a legend too in a lot of businesses. And we have an amazing group of people working with us. There's a man behind me who became a tremendous success. He was not a wealthy man. He didn't start off a wealthy man, and he ended up a wealthy man. And you know, that's a great talent. And he's willing to sacrifice so much and to put it to work for our country. Watch the job he does on the interior, but in particular on really making our country very, very wealthy by utilizing it properly. And at the same time, environmentally, he does it he's very much an environmentalist. He's going to do it very carefully and very painstakingly good. But you just watch what happens. And working with the Department of Energy, where his compatriot, his friend, and also considered the most talented man in the oil business, is the head of the Department of Energy, and they work together. It's almost like a partnership. It really is a partnership. And watch what that does for our country. It'll be a fantastic thing to see. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Fred. Tulsi got it up. Thank you.